One of my favorite albums that you produced is Arabia Mountain by Black Lips. Such a it's such a
Right.
like great raw chaotic garage rock feel, and it feels almost like it's from a different era. And then on that same spectrum, you have the polished funk of Bruno Mars or the mainstream pop of Barbie. Is there a through line between any of those projects as a producer, or do they just kind of represent your interests at that point in your
Yeah,
life?
I love all that shit. I love the Black Lips. I love Dua Lipa uh and and Bruno and George Clinton and all of it. So yeah, and I think there's been times where I've like probably arguably stretched myself a bit too far, like went a little too left or maybe out of my comfort zone, but I don't. I like all these things. I grew up listening to all these things. It would be. I just. It would be impossible for me to say no anyway. And I had a fucking blast making Arabia Mountain with the Black Lips. I mean, I nearly died because I had to go to the hospital. I had like crazy to get my stomach pumped because these guys just are completely
They're fucking
reckless with their
psychotic,
bodies,
right?
and they took me out to eat um sushi, and we had raw liver. Or like sushi, liver sushi. Like, there's no such thing as liver sushi. It's just raw liver. And I just like remember like for 2 days. One day I was in the hospital. 2 days I was down for the count. Um,
Was it a prank? Did they eat it
no,
too?
they ate it too, but they just were like their stomachs were probably just like fucking made of metal. Yeah, and that's the thing. It would be I think it would be impossible for me to try and just stay with one thing.
But I guess some question is like, where does the skill set transfer to all of those different genres?
I think the skill set. Okay, there's certainly like knowledge of the genre because I knew all of those things and loved all those pieces, those kinds of music growing up. I'm not going in like totally like, oh, what are we doing here? Like there's that, but I think at the end of the day is like the skill set. Certainly in the Rick Rubin school, the skill set of the producer is to like understand the artist and help them get their vision out as strongly as possible. It's not into like go in and get a hit. Sure, it's nice to go in and get a hit. I think that same thing, like when I met Amy Winehouse, which I met her here in this studio, I never I'd never made anything that sounded remotely like Back to Black the first time, but she came and sat down and I was like, well, what do you envision your record sounding like? And she played me the Shangri-Las and I was like, that's cool. Like I never made anything like that. And then I was like, well, come back tomorrow. Let me see what I can do tonight. So I sat, and it was literally that piano, and came up with the piano for Back to Black. I was inspired by her, and so I like that. I'm either so inspired by somebody. There's probably still that sense of overachiever, like I know I'm not supposed to do this, but I'm gonna fucking do it anyway. Um,
Well, in the case of the Black Lips, what do you think they saw or heard in you that they wanted on their album?
well, I think that they liked Amy, and they heard that same like crusty sort of like '60s production that they were very fond of, although their thing like is dirtier. And I think they probably like the fact that they weren't supposed to be working with me, like they're like really they like to throw a fucking, finger in the face of expectations of what they should be doing. Um when I got to work with Josh Homme, who's was one of my absolute musical heroes at the time of Queens of Stone Age record, I'm sure he enjoyed it too because it was like you're gonna work with a fucking Uptown Funk guy. So yeah, I think I work with artists that like to defy whatever's expected of them.